Dragon arrows versus gold tip arrows. I'm Sean McVay with Sean's Outdoor Adventures, and in this video, I'm going to compare and contrast these Dragon arrows by Sanlita versus the Hunter series by Gold Tip. Now, Sanlita just came out with a line of arrows, the Dragon 10, Dragon 9, Dragon 8. I'm going to show the difference between each. I'm going to give the prices of each. And these are the Gold Tip Hunter XT, the Hunter, and this is the Hunter Pro. I purchased all of these from Amazon. And as you can see, these two came in the special packaging from the manufacturer. This one, for whatever reason, I guess whoever the seller was of them just sent it in this box. So these are the Gold Tip Hunter Pros. So let's talk price first of all. These two here, these are going to be comparable. The Gold Tip Hunter and the Dragon 8 would be your entry-level arrow. For a pack of 6 of the Gold Tip Hunter, I spent, and I wrote it down to make sure I got it right, $54.99 cost me for 6 arrows fletched. Okay, so these, as you're going to see when I pull them out and do some more testing, these are already fletched. So the Sanlita Dragon 8 comes in a 24 pack. I'm going to look down to make sure I give you the correct number, $59.99. So $54.99 for 6, $59.99 for 24. And they're fletched. So I was shocked at the price of that. Now, I do sometimes get flack for showing products that are made in China, such as the Sanlita archery products. And I will say that there is elements of the economy that are still supplied, such as someone had to be paid to package these from the Amazon plant, and then they were shipped to me. These were actually in a separate box. So did I save any of those? Here. So these came in an Amazon box. So someone in the United States had to be hired and paid to box these up. And then another person had to be hired and paid to deliver them. So although the manufacturing of them took place somewhere else, and in fact, there are plenty of American companies that still have their products manufactured in China or somewhere else. But anyhow, there's still elements of our economy that are supported by the sale of these products on Amazon. So anyway, I just mentioned that because there are some people who give me a hard time for even showing products that are not made in the United States. Hey, I've been the type of person who's never really had much money in my life. And so if there's times where I need to save money somewhere, archery can be an expensive sport. So something like this has always been appealing to me so that I have some money to help put my kids through school. My kids go to Catholic school, things like that. So anyhow, if you want to give me a hard time, whatever, that's just part of the reality. So these are all, by the way, these are all 340 spine because I tend to shoot around 65-pound pool at a 31.5-inch draw length. So 340 or 300 spine is usually where I'm at. I decided to go with 340 for this testing because it's a little bit of a lighter arrow. I can still get good flight and my pins are a little closer together. So anyhow, the next step up, the Hunter XT, for a dozen, I got them for $101 on Amazon, which actually comes in cheaper than these because obviously if you were to buy 2 packs of these, you're up at $110 for the Hunter. So I got a better deal by buying these in a 12-pack. I couldn't find these. At the time I ordered these, they only had them in 6 packs fletched. Okay, and then the equivalent, the Dragon 9, they are $69.99 for 24. And then the Hunter Pro, I think it was Hunter, what's it say on the app? Yeah, so the Hunter Pro fletched for a dozen of those cost me $149 on Amazon. And Amazon's often cheaper than other places you could get that. The Sanlita Dragon 10s are $79.99 for a dozen. I mean, for 24. Whew. So 24 12 and almost half the price. Here's what we're going to do. So I have a spine testing gauge here. We're going to put each arrow on the spine testing gauge and see what numbers it reads out. How consistent are we from one shaft to the next? So since I only have 6 of the Hunter, I will only do 6 of the Dragon 8s. I'm going to tell you this, from somebody who has done this with arrows for a long time. A dozen arrows is your typical, what you typically get. In a 12 pack of arrows, you're going to have a chunk of them that are going to behave very similarly, and then there's going to be some that are going to be different as far as the amount of flex you see on the scale here. And what I tend to do is I take the most consistent batch. Let's say you put them on here, and this is a 2-pound weight. So you put the arrow on the jig here, and then you hang the 2-pound weight from the center of the shaft. And as you can see, the gauge spins around and lands on a number. And then what I'm going to do is every single shaft, I'm going to rotate it to see where the high point is and where the low point is in the shaft, and what number that's at the high point and at the low point. I'm going to log all this data. Folks, this is going to take me a long time, but I'm going to do it for all 6 of the Hunter arrows, gold tip Hunter arrows, and then I'll do 6 for comparison. And just, I guess to be consistent, maybe I'll just do 6 out of them all. But I will say this, the more arrows you have, the more you can get a consistent group that's going to be really close. So let's say I do 6 here of each one, and 3 of them are really close and 2 of them are different. Well, if you have 24 arrows to pick from, you're going to have a lot more, in theory, you're going to have a lot more that are going to be close to how much they're flexing. Now, I typically like to build my own arrows. All these, since the Sandlita come pre-fletched, I ordered pre-fletched arrows from Gold Tip. Now, I ordered all these Gold Tip arrows with the Blazer vane, the 2-inch vane. There were some places that would give you a longer option, but I just got the Blazer vane because that's what I typically would probably shoot for these. So the Sandlita, we're going to have slightly longer fletching on the 8 and 9, and then on the 10, it's going to be like this. So I'm also going to get a grain scale, by the way, and I'm going to see the weight of every one of these out of the box. So that's the testing that's going to take place in this video, and then we're going to compare all the data. Stay tuned to see what happens. All right, I've got a laptop here, and I got a data chart started. So this is the Dragon 8 arrows. They come in the box here. Let me just slide it out a little bit. Oh, there's comes with field points. So you got 24 100 grain field points, and they are. So there's what they look like coming out of the box. Let me get 6, 2, 4, 6. So I'll just actually there's 1. Okay, so there's 6 Dragon 8 arrows. And then, of course, our Hunter, Gold Tip Hunter arrows. So the inserts are in this bag here. They need to be glued in. Now, the Dragon 8 arrows come with the tip glued in. And I should get a tape measure to just measure them. They're the same length. The carbon shaft itself is right at 32 inches, just a hair over. But if you're including like the insert being glued in and the knock, the overall length is close to 33. It's about 32 3/4. Now let's get a weight for each of these. So this is the Dragon 8 arrow with the tip, the insert glued in. 302 grains. I just need to take an insert out of the bag here. So I'm going to put the insert on the scale and then the shaft. So the shaft, insert, and knock, 334 grains. Okay, so now with the Hunter 345 spine gold tip Hunter arrow, since the insert's not glued in, you're either going to need to buy insert glue and glue it in, or there is an advantage. You could get it cut to a specific length if you have access to like a pro shop that can do that for you. But if you're doing it yourself, you will need to buy the glue. The glue is probably going to cost around $15 for insert glue to glue your arrows. So obviously this is a little bit, there's more grains per inch for the gold tip arrow. To be as consistent as possible, I'm going to try to keep the carbon on this end where the knock is as close to the end of the rollers as I can for all the arrows, just for consistency. As you can see, the arrow hangs over the end a few inches on that side, but we're going to try to do them all the same. So like I don't want to have one arrow back this way, one out here. I'm going to try to keep the carbon right near the end of the rollers. So what I'm going to do is I will zoom in on our little gauge here, and then I'll hang the weight, and then we'll rotate the arrow 360 degrees, and we'll find out what the reading is at our highest point and lowest point. The highest point would be the stiffest part of the spine, and the lowest point would be the weakest part of the spine. Hey guys, I'm editing, and I just wanted to make a clarification statement. When I said highest point is the stiffest spine, it's also going to be the lowest number. So picture the arrow flexing down, so that low and high. So the highest point is the least amount of flex, but also the lowest number on the gauge. The lowest point is going to be a higher number on the gauge, if that makes sense. So that's what I was trying to communicate. And I just wanted to make this statement, hopefully to make sure that it's coming across as clear as possible. Okay, so before I put the arrow in, the 0 for my gauge is here, and that's where the gauge was pointed before being on the arrow. So now that'll be consistent for all of them. So let's put this on. It's passing, every time it passes 0, I'll count out 1, 2, 3. Okay, so it passed 0 3 times, and we're over here at 38 right now. And I'm just going to rotate the arrow very slowly. It just so happens that I put it in right on the spine of the arrow. So 38 is our lowest number, and it went to 48. So there's a 38 to 48 range. Okay, now I'm going to do the same with the other gold tip arrows. I'm going to put this over here so I don't reuse the same one. Okay. One, 2, 3. Okay. So let's find our stiffest and weakest points. Okay, so our stiffest point is 42. And our weakest is 49. 42 to 49. More like 46 to 53. All I'm doing is just rotating the end of the arrow so that it's rotating this way, and Well, that's how we're getting our readings. Okay, so we hit 39. About 48, 39 to 48 on that one. So about 48 to 57 on that one. You can see that one was definitely weaker than the others. $45, about 51. All right, so that takes care of our gold tip. Now another thing I'll point out is the fletching, where the stiffest part and weakest part of the spine was not necessarily where the index fletch was. So the arrows are not spine indexed before fletching. The fletching also has a very faint right helical, or right angle. I'd say maybe 1 degree for the gold tip hunter, and then the Sanlita Dragon 8, I'd say maybe 1 degree for a left helical, which is what you would need. Like all the Sanlita bows I've shot, the strings and cables are twisted counterclockwise, and so they actually need a left helical curve. Okay, so we're going to give this one a try. One other thing I didn't mention before is the Sanlita nock is different than the gold tip. So this has an actual insert here, so you have a micro nock, and the gold tip nock is just your standard nock. So that's a little bit different. And one reason for the development of the insert with the micro nock is if you're shooting like at targets and the arrow like gets shot into the back of it, like you aimed at the same spot, the idea is that this will break off and you could replace this nock and still be able to shoot, whereas this you're going to shoot down into the shaft and split the arrow. I think you'd likely destroy this anyway, the insert, but you might still be able to take the insert out and replace the insert and the nock. It just is basically trying to save you the arrow shaft for target shooting. I just don't aim at the same spot. Okay, so we're going to check this. So 1, 2, 3 times past 0, so that's consistent. So we went down to 41, just bumped it so it didn't. So the highest number, the 41 to 48. $46 is our highest number, which is the weakest part of our spine, and 38 to 46 is what we have. 49. We'll go 40 to 49 on that one. And one thing I'll point out is sometimes just from touching the arrow here and spinning it, it throws off the reading a little bit. So I actually let go just a little bit when I get to the end, like right here. So we're at 50, I'd say we probably hit 58 there. And then when we get down to the other end, we were at 41. Letting go kind of gives you a reading. Like if I push on this, as you can see, it changes the thing. But so you want to get to the high and low point and let go. So we were at 41 to 49 on this one. So about 36 looks like a low number. To about 47. $36 to 47. Okay, I'm going to quick pause and compare these real quick. So just in doing this, and this was a random sample of 6 out of the 24, I feel like the Sanlitas in general seemed like they were a little bit closer in the pocket, as far as the measurements. So like for the Sanlita, for the low numbers, there was 2 that were 36 and 2 that were 41, a 38 and a 40. For the low number here, we had a 38, a 39, a 42, a 45, and a 48. So there was a little more variation in the gold tip ones. The gold tip is going to require a little more money too for the glue, insert glue. And I do, for me and as a hunter, I do prefer this style nock as opposed to this. But there are target archers who probably may prefer the micro, the small nock that you have here. I feel like these also, being that there's less plastic, can wear out a little bit quicker than this. Since there's more plastic, it's a little more durable in the long run. But I mean, the value of the Dragon 8 arrows is pretty incredible. And then for straightness, I forgot to mention this. We kind of go from, I think it's 0.00 plus or minus 6 for this level of arrow, then plus or minus 0.003 for the middle of the road, the Dragon 9 and the Hunter XT, and then for the Pro, the Gold Tip Pro, as well as the Sanlita Dragon 10, it's 0.001. So those are straightness ratings of how straight the carbon arrow is. So 0.006 is still very straight, but if you want to be more precise, obviously the overall straighter this can possibly be, the overall more accurate you can be, collectively speaking. So anyhow, so that's where you're at with the Dragon 8 and the Hunter, the Gold Tip Hunter arrow. Now they do have a longer fletch on these. I contacted Sanlita and I said I would recommend moving the fletch back a little bit in the gluing process, and maybe even consider a slightly shorter fletch, like I think this is a 4-inch, maybe go to a 3.5 or 3, because with this, depending on what style of arrow rest the person is shooting, when they clip this on their bow, the fletching can be in the arrow rest, which can make it tough for setting up a bow and tuning it, because you want that, in my opinion, you want the arrow sitting on the arrow rest for the tuning so you can make sure that the arrow is plumb. And having the fletching sitting on the rest is going to change the angle of the arrow for the setting up process. So anyhow, if you just move the fletch back and shorten a little bit, it'll solve that issue. And they did tell me they were planning to do that in future batches. This is their initial batch that they sent to the United States. So depending on when you watch this video and if you were to order something like this fletching could be shorter and move back a little bit. So if we compare it to the Gold Tip, and I just line up the carbon, as you can see, the Sanlita fletching is significantly forward compared to where the Gold Tip is. And where the Gold Tip is more standard as far as placement of where the back of the fletching runs. And so you won't run into those issues, setup and tuning issues, with this. Now that I've shown you the entry-level arrows, we're going to bump it up to the middle-of-the-road arrows and do the comparison for them. Okay, to be consistent, we're just going to do 6 of each. Okay, these are the Gold Tip Hunter XT arrows. So I'll grab 6 of these and then 6 of the Sanlita. Again, we have the nocks separate. I said nocks, I meant inserts. So the inserts are separate for the Gold Tip Hunters. And I believe for the Dragon 9, the inserts are separate for the Dragon 9s. And the Dragon 9s also come with, if I can get out, field points. There's 24 field points. Okay, I'm going to put one of these, each of these on the grain scale here that I have in front of me. So here is the gold tip, and let me grab a gold tip insert. Now the reason why I'm comparing these to gold tip is I personally prefer gold tip. Like all these years I've been shooting gold tip. I started off shooting Eastons, and I found that gold tip inserts stayed in better for me than Easton. I would sometimes have Easton inserts come out, like if I was shooting a broadhead into a foam target, I would have them come out. So in the gluing process, when you're gluing in an insert, I personally felt like there was a better fit when I would be sliding in an insert into a gold tip arrow. Easton seemed to be a little bit more loose going in, and so you don't get as good of adherence between the insert and the shaft. So I've been using gold tip. So the gold tip Hunter XT with the insert and the 2-inch Blazer vane is 342 grains, and then the Dragon 9 arrow with the insert is 308 grains. So the difference in weight obviously is going to be the diameter of the carbon wall is probably going to, where it's probably a little thicker for the Hunter XT compared to the Dragon. However, they're the same spine, so they have the arrow has the same stiffness. It's just that there's more carbon in this arrow to create that stiffness. Now you can see, if you look at the finish of these, the Hunter, the gold tip Hunters have more of like a whitish appearance on the outside as opposed to all black. So we're going to go and do the next, we're going to do the same test that we did for testing the spine. We'll start with the gold tip. Again, it's a 340 spine. All of these are 340 spine. So even from this to the last one and the next one, they're all the same spine in the arrow. So we can compare numbers all the way across all the arrows. So all the gold tip arrows can be compared to all of the models. And I will provide a screenshot of the chart near the end of the video, so you can just pause and look at the data. So we're closer to 30 here. I'm just going back and forth. So it looks like 30, 31 is our starting point to about 40. All right, so we're about 30 to start. And 38. So we're about 38 for the high number. I was just going back and forth to try to get it there. No, actually it's going up to 40. So we went 30 to 40 on that one. We went to 41, so we'll do 30 to 41. Okay, we're starting around 29 on this one to 37. About 38 for the high. Up to 44 there. And down to 34. So this one has sort of like a bump in it, sort of. So there's the stiffest part, or the weakest part. It came down to the weakest part, and then it came up, and then went back down a little bit, and then came up more. So there's kind of like a secondary bump in this one. All right, so this one's going to 44 so far. Oh, now it's going up higher. So this has a kind of bump in it too. 47 for the high. And about 40 for the low. Okay, now we'll check the San Lita. So this one here was quite a bit higher than the others as far as the lowest number. This was around 40. The others were closer to 30. Now again, the Dragon 9s, you do have to glue in the inserts for these, which means you can also cut them to the length you want. This one's going 40 to 50. This one's going 39 to 43. This one's 34 to 43. Now out of the box, this one fletch did come out a little wonky. You could like have it like pressed like this for a few hours to try to train it back, but that's a bummer when your fletch is kind of like that. So it looks like 33 is our starting point here. 32 to 41. $35 to $43. $36 to $45. All right, so 36 to 45 was the last one. Here, let me look at my laptop here. All right, so I did notice with the gold tip, with the exception of that last one, I felt like they were really close to consistent, right around the 30 starting point. The Dragon 9s had one that was down as low as 32 and one as high as 40, so still a little variation there. But again, you have 24 to pick from if you want to get batches that are close. These were pretty close, with the exception of that last one up at 40. Again, both need to be inserts glued in, and I will provide a link in the description, not just for the arrows, but also for some insert glue. I'm currently just using like insert iron, I think it's called. I'll put a link for that. If you want to get your arrows cut to length, you can do that with these, with the Dragon 9s as well as the Hunter XTs. And again, another advantage to the Sanlita is they come with 24 field points to go with the arrows. You'd still have to buy field points with the gold tip, and I can provide links for some field points if that's something you need or want to get. All right, now we're down to the top of the line. So I'll get 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the gold tip Hunter Pros here. Again, 340 spine. Okay, so the Sanlita again has the inserts and field points. And then the gold tip just has the inserts. One thing I also noticed between the gold tip and Sanlita, Sanlita's inserts come in a nice little Ziploc bag that can be resealed. The gold tip is just a sealed bag that you have to rip a hole in to get the insert out. And then, so obviously, if you're not using them all, you may want to get a Ziploc to then put the extras in until you're going to use them. But I will set out an insert here so we can get a weight measurement. Okay, so let's weigh the gold tip here. All right, so the gold tip is 350 on the dot. Now, all of these weight measurements, you're going to add the tip. So if it's a 100 grain tip, that's a 350 weight arrow. It's going to be 450 when you put the 100 grain tip in, if that's what you're using. Now, one thing I will mention here with the gold tip is it has a bushing for the knock, so it has a micro knock. Now, the difference between this and the Sanlita is that this bushing, the knock actually goes down inside the bushing. For the Sanlita, it's actually the insert has a post on it, and the nock slips onto the post. So it's a different design. I have a personal preference of the one that goes down in, but that's only because that's what I've always used. And that's what I'm used to in a sense. Also, if you're going to be hunting, you probably can find a light up nock that would fit down into here, like a micro. I bought them once, like probably 10 years ago. They were so hard to get down in there that they kept breaking, so I never did it again. But you wouldn't be able to put a light up nock on the Sanlita arrows. So let me go ahead and reset this. So the Dragon 10 arrow, 340 spine, comes to 298 grams, or grains rather. So 52 grains less. So if you're trying to get a lightweight rig, lightweight arrow to keep your pins close, like if you're shooting in archery tournaments and you want to, like 3D tournaments where you have to guess the yardage, so having the lighter arrow is going to help in that scenario. And I forgot to measure the others. So these are, so the shaft itself is 32 inches for these, and then I forgot to measure the last group. Also 32-inch long shaft. Okay, we're going to start with the gold tip, just to be consistent. Okay, again, this is a 340 spined arrow. You can see upside down, 340 right here. And you can see we're way up compared to all of our other measurements. So that is hitting about 60 to 67 for that one. So this says 9.8 grains per inch for the Pro, and I don't know if Sanlita labels theirs with grains per inch. No, they just note, Sanlita just notes on there that their straightness is plus or minus 0.001. I think when I was mentioning those, I was mentioning an extra zero. So 0.001, 0.003, 0.006. I don't remember now, but that gives you an idea for the straightness. Okay, let's check the next gold tip. Can zoom in for a little bit. Let's see where this one is. That hit about 50, 42 to 50. Quite a bit different than the last one, which was 60 to 67. And all of our arrows collectively. So if you shot that one that was 60 to 67 next to one of the others that we've measured earlier that was like 30 to 40, that could fly differently, possibly. 39 to 46. So that one's starting at 39 compared to the one that started at 60. 61. Go 52 to 58 on this one. Wow, that one's 51 to 54. Most of them had about 8 to 10 increment change. That was only a 3 measurement change. $37 to 44. Now when I'm turning this, like sometimes when the pressure my hand puts on it just when I go to turn makes the gauge go higher. So that's why I let go and see where does the gauge rest, and then I'd use that as my measurement. So like when I'm going to the high end, you know, if I bump it, it may go to, let's say, to 46, and when I let go it comes back to 44. I'm using 44 as my measurement in that kind of scenario. That one went 40 to 47. 42 to 50. $34 to 41. $37 to 46. $40 to 48. Now I want to go back and try to find that one that really went down to 60. And make sure that I did that right, because that really surprised me. There it is. Yep. Just wanted to make sure, since that one was surprising. Okay, so with the Dragon 10, they come with the short blazer vane type thing, and the other two come with longer. I know that in some, like if you were to order arrows directly from Gold Tip's website, they do give you the option of ordering the shorter, like blazer type vane, or the longer 3, maybe even 4 inch. I don't remember exactly, but they do give you an option. Like I went onto their website to try to order arrows, but they were all sold out there, so I bought them through Amazon. So there was a little bit of a supply issue there. If you're going to be gluing in your own inserts, I recommend using like a Q-tip, dipping it in acetone, which is nail polish remover, and cleaning out the inside of the shaft before. Let that dry, clean it out, let it dry, and then glue your insert in to get the best adhesion possible. So I just want to give a final conclusion with all these arrows. I actually was a little surprised at some of the variation with the Gold Tip Hunter Pro. That one was 60 to 67, and one of them was 39 to 46. So that's kind of a pretty dramatic range for the static spine. And the Dragon 10s, let's see, the lowest one looks like we had 2 that went as low as 37, and then there was 2 that were at 40, and then 1 at 42. So that's not too bad. But anyway, for the top of the line for the Gold Tip, I was surprised for that one. So if you were to get a dozen arrows and one is kind of way off compared to the others, you could just set that aside. You maybe use it for practice, or like when I have rodent problems, like a groundhog that I plan to shoot, as long as that arrow shoots close enough to the other arrows, I may use that on a situation like that. But that's one of the nice advantages of having a 24 pack, is that if you have 1 or 2 that have a big variation compared to the rest, then you still have, let's say, 22 other arrows. Whereas here, if you have 12 and 2 of them are an issue, then you only have 10. And I like to set aside half for practice, half for hunting when I buy like a dozen arrows. So having more obviously gives you more leeway for how to use them. I think all in all, the Dragon shows that they have a value for what the cost is to buy them here in the United States. I do prefer the standard nock, even like these types of nocks. If I'm going to be hunting, I don't prefer that. If I wanted to use a light up nock, it limits me a little bit. I just, it also adds a little bit of weight in the back to have the inserts in the backs of the arrows. So just as a hunter, that's my primary use for archery. I do prefer just your standard nock, like what you have on the Hunter XT by Gold Tip. That's your standard nock there. You could swap that out for a light up nock very easily. With this, you may need to get a specialized one to fit down in there. And they probably make more nowadays than they used to. So that would be my overall conclusion. If you're going to be buying, like the Sanlita, I think the price range is so close. Why not get the 10s? that would be me. I mean, the 9s and 8s are fine too. We saw all the testing, but what the difference is the overall straightness. 0.001 is your variation in straightness. But you can, if you prefer a longer fletch, obviously you could get like the Dragon 9. Let me grab one of those. I got them sitting right here. So the Dragon 9, if you want a longer fletch, that would be the advantage of the Dragon 9. Straightness is 0.003. I believe it's, let's see if it's written right on here. Yes, so it's written right on here, straightness 0.003. And that'll be comparable with the Hunter XT. And then, of course, the Hunter straightness 0.006. And then the Dragon 8 straightness 0.006. So it's just like how straight the carbon is. You know, the higher grade carbon, you know, the more you're going to be paying, the overall straighter the shaft is rated. So again, I mean, the only thing that is a drawback for me, I wish I had more of an option to put the regular knock on there. And to be honest with you, with the current design, until they get the new ones in, I have an arrow cutter. I'm actually going to just cut the insert off and put a regular knock in there. And then if I want to use these for hunting and I want to swap out for a light up knock, I can do that with ease. With the current knock on the Dragon arrows, you can't do that. But for a lot of people, that doesn't matter anyway. And I would say the price and value of the Dragon is very hard to beat. I mean, getting 24 arrows for let me go look at my prices so I don't say the wrong thing. Currently, at the day that I'm making this video, we're talking $149. I got the, you know, the Hunter Pro from Gold Tip, and then $79.99 is what these are going for on Amazon for a 24 pack as opposed to a 12 pack. So I don't know. That's going to probably appeal to a lot of people, as it does to me, someone who has a limited budget. So I want to thank you for tuning in. If you liked the video, click the like button. And if you want to subscribe, you can. I'm a very solid, sincere Catholic, so sometimes I talk about my faith. You know, you may not be interested in that. So if you do subscribe, look for the title of the video. If it's not a title of something you'd be interested in, you could always skip over it. But that's me, Sean McVeigh, Sean's Outdoor Adventures. Until next time, take care, God bless. Oh, and links in the description, affiliate links, so that does help my channel if you purchase through those affiliate links. God bless.